Okay, I'm well aware that we have not talked a lot about relative maximum and relative minimum. Also aware that you're seeing more of the screen than usual. So that's because I'm going to use the Desmos calculator, however you pronounce that. The first thing we're going to do though is just quickly fill in this table because that's just a matter of plug and chug. So I hope you've already done this. And so I'm not going to take the time actually to show you all of that. This is going to be -4, 10, 12, 8, 4, and 6. Now you may be able to see this without the graph, but I think the graph is going to help you visualize what's going on, and then in the future you may not need to graph them every time. It says using only integer values of x, what is the smallest x interval whose associated portion of the graph contains a relative maximum. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go to the website, and this is something you haven't done, at least I'm assuming you haven't done it, and access the table, because that's what lets us plot just points. Okay, so if we plot this point, the first point we're going to get is -3, and then for the y value, we're going to use -4. The next one is going to be -2, and followed by a 10. And our next coordinate is -1. Whoops. -1. The y value for that is 12. Next, we go to 0, and y value for that one is 8. And now we go to 1, and our y value is 4. And it looks like we need one more, 1, 4, so we need 2, and we need 6. I think we've got all of those. Okay. And you can see, I hope you can see over here, just minimize this, I hope you can see that we have our graph. Okay, so let me just make this a bit smaller so we can see all of it. And what I'm going to do right now, I know that you can probably access this a little bit better, but I'm actually going to take a screen clipping and bring it over. So let's insert a screen clipping, and so I'm going to clip this screen and bring it over. Right now you've got this in here. So what we're looking for, and I'm going to connect these lines. I know that that feels a little weird, like something you haven't done before, but hang with me here. Okay, so right here we've got this, and we go to here, we come back down here, and I think we go back up. Whoops. Get this to come back up here like that. All right, so this looks like I think it's a cubic function, and you haven't been exposed to that much, but that's okay, because what we're looking for, what we're doing right now is, whoops, that's not going to work too well. Let me just break. Oh man, that's not going to work well at all. Okay, well I'll just leave it on top here. We want the portion of the graph that the x interval, right, that has a relative minimum. I'm sorry, the first one's a relative maximum. Okay, so relative, the idea of a relative maximum means just between, just in that general area. We don't know what else could be going on way outside our little, area here, but we can talk about what's going on just in this section right here. So that's what I want you to see. This is the relative maximum right here, okay? And so where, between what x interval does the relative maximum occur? And that is going to be, over here, do you see that this is starting here at -2, right? Okay, so here's -2, and here is 0, right? Okay, so our relative maximum is occurring between these integer values. Okay, remember integer is a whole number, right? So here is our relative maximum. So maybe you'll be able to find the relative minimum a little more easily now that you know that. So our relative minimum is going to be right here. So it's between what points? And I know you're thinking, well, isn't this point lower than the others? Yeah, but we don't really know what's going on there. So where in between integer values, where is our relative minimum? This is getting you ready for some of the other stuff that they're talking about later so that you're at least familiar with the idea of relative minimum and relative maximum. So you know how to write intervals now. So I'm going to suggest that for our relative maximum, you use interval notation. So it goes from -2 to 0, right? That's our relative maximum. So we'll write it like this: -2, comma, 0 inclusive, right? Okay? And then for our relative maximum, I meant minimum. For a relative minimum, we can say, okay, we know it's going from it's somewhere between 0 and +2, because that's where our minimum values, between these two that are relative minimum occur. So we can say this is from 0 to 2, okay? It's from 0 to 2, going this way, okay? So from 0 to 2. Here, we were going from -2 to 0 with our boundaries right there, all right? So I hope that is helpful for all of you.